Topic 8, where we will explore the aggregate expenditure model. Welcome to Topic 8, where we will explore the aggregate expenditure model. This model is crucial for understanding how different components of spending interact to influence the overall economy. In this session, we will cover 4 key learning points: the Keynesian Cross-A model, macroeconomic equilibrium, the multiplier process, and the impact of changes in aggregate expenditure represents the total planned spending in an economy at various income levels. The Keynesian cross-expenditure model helps us understand the importance of E in determining economic activity. Aggregate expenditure is composed of consumption, planned investment, government expenditure, and net exports. Each of these components plays a vital role in shaping the economy. Consumption, in real terms, is generally upward trending. This means that over time we buy more and more things. The consumption function shows a direct relationship between the level of consumption and the level of disposable income. The investment function is a function of national income. Real GDP shows the relationship between real GDP and investment levels. For simplicity, we assume that all investment is autonomous, that is, the level of investment spending does not vary with the level of incomes. The level of government expenditure, spending, is regarded as being independent of the government's income. Under the Keynesian model, we regard total government spending as being autonomous. Thus, government spending function appears as a horizontal line. Net exports can be obtained when the value of goods and services sold overseas minus the value of goods and services bought from overseas. When an economy is recording a trade deficit, the net export function appears as downward slope. The aggregate expenditure model can be visualized graphically. The y-axis is used to show the effect of an initial change in one of more components of aggregate expenditure. A means the level of total expenditure. X-axis is used to show the multiplier effect and the greater change in RGDP from an initial change in A. The 45-degree line represents points where A equals real GDP, helping us identify equilibrium points. The aggregate expenditure function is formed by stacking on top of each other the consumption function, after taxes, the investment function, the government spending function, the net export function. The meaning of equilibrium remains the same. Equilibrium is a point of balance where no incentive exists to shift away from that outcome. Macroeconomic equilibrium of income level occurs when aggregate expenditure, A, intersects with the 45-degree line. It is the only point on the aggregate expenditure line where the total amount being spent on aggregate demand equals the total level of production. The Keynesian A-cross model illustrates the relationship between aggregate expenditure and real GDP, highlighting the equilibrium where A equals real GDP. When A does not equal output, the economy experiences disequilibrium. This can lead to changes in inventories, prices, production, and employment levels. If an economy found itself to the left of the equilibrium point E, where real output is lower than the equilibrium, indicating the level of aggregate demand in the economy is above the 45-degree line, the situation indicates that the level of aggregate expenditure in the economy is greater than the level of output. When the level of aggregate demand has emptied the store shelves, it cannot be sustained, either. This causes a rundown of inventories and put upward pressure on the prices, and producers will react by producing more in the next period. Due to multiplier effect, employment and income will rise, leading to rising GDP, and the economy will move towards the equilibrium level of income. In contrast, when the level of aggregate expenditure in the economy is higher than the level of output, output is piling up unsold. This is not a sustainable state of affairs either. Increase in inventories will cause prices to decrease. Therefore, producers will react by producing less in the next period. Employment and income will fall, leading to falling GDP, and the economy will move towards the equilibrium level of income. There are 3 types of equilibrium, which include below full employment, and above full employment. Each type has different implications for the economy. The multiplier effect is an economic term, referring to the proportional amount of increase, or decrease, in final income that results from an injection, or withdrawal, of capital. An autonomous change in one or more of the components of A causes a domino, chain reaction or multiplier process through an economy, so the final change in income is bigger than the change in the expenditure that caused it. This is because the original change in aggregate expenditures is actually spent more than once. In effect, multipliers effects measure the impact that a change in economic activity, like investment or spending, will have on the total economic output of something. This amplified effect is known as the multiplier. In a simple of the economy of only a finance industry, the effect of the proportion of income that is saved and not spent. Thus, the strength of the multiplier depends on the proportion of any extra income passed on as spending on goods and services produced within the economy. Thus, the magnitude of the multiplier is directly related to the marginal propensity to consume. For example, if a person receives $100 extra income and, as a result, they spent an extra $60 on domestically produced products, then the MPC is 0.6. The multiplier, K, is defined as the number of times an increase in income exceeds the increase in spending which caused it. In other words, an autonomous change in any component of A will result in a larger change in income. Changes in any component of A can alter real GDP, affecting output levels and unemployment. These changes lead to a new economic equilibrium. When actual income is below potential output, it indicates insufficient A, leading to low economic activity and unemployment. Intervention is needed to close this gap. Conversely, when actual output exceeds potential GDP, it results in an overheated economy with inflationary pressures. Measures are required to bring the economy back to equilibrium. Thank you for joining us in exploring the aggregate expenditure model. Remember, understanding these concepts is important to the following topics.